and everyday living in connection to our own bodies.
Would you be able to describe some of the personalities?
Right, okay, there's a personality which is called aurum, and aurum is gold, and this is where a person can be quite, there's polarities to every type of state. So like there is the darkness and the light and the sun and the moon, so you can get two different polarities in this particular personality. And the personality could be, this person is always going for gold. There's a perfectionist inside them that no matter what they do, no matter what they achieve, they always feel it could be better. And then there's the negative side. Well, that can be negative in itself, but there is also the side that self-criticism.
Yeah.
And the positive side to this state is connecting to your joy and your happiness. It's very much a remedy for the heart and the circulation. And if you're hard on yourself, you put yourself under a lot of pressure, it can also put pressure into the blood circulation and the heart, and it can also bring you down in a state of more or less connecting to the darkness rather than the light within you. So you see things more negatively rather than positively.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's not about giving the remedy, it's very much about connecting to the person, to this state, and what they can do in everyday life to get them to connect more to their own joy and their own happiness that everyone rightfully has within them.
And what was the most difficult part of the book to write about?
The most difficult part of the book to write about would have been the 3 articles that I wrote about suicide. These articles came about from people asking me different questions. They'd come into the clinic or they'd be living on the edge, and these are heart-rending questions that people would ask. And also when you would hear of another, very fatal tragedy, it would be very, 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 excuse me, it would be very, I was very inspired to write it because I just felt that there is so much more that could be done for suicide to help these people who are living on the edge to know that they can get off the edge and that they can do something for themselves.
And that they're not being swept under the carpet the whole time.
That they're not being swept under the carpet the whole time, but sweeping under the carpet, Stephen, could very much be themselves sweeping themselves under the carpet. A lot of cases would be a lot of families are left with guilt and they never suspected. It was very much within the person, within them. So it was, I wrote these articles and I put them aside, and I said even to Jerry, these articles, and he said, have you written them? And I said, yes, I have. And he said, well, where are they? And I'd say, I don't know, I've lost them. And he'd say, oh, come on, Breda, I know you've written these articles, but I kind of felt for ages, oh, it's such a sensitive subject, Jerry, I don't know, to write about it. But, Jerry kept persuading me, this is good stuff, Breda, people need to hear this stuff on what you've written, on people how to help themselves. And I suppose I was so glad that I did write them, because I got letters then from people to say, thank you, Breda, that was very inspiring what you wrote, and I could connect to it, so I knew that I'd done the right thing when I'd written these articles.
So it was kind of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, Stephen, I suppose you could say that, a blessing in disguise. It's like my whole feeling was to write these articles because, as I said, I was inspired to write them. And sometimes when your head takes over and you think too much, oh God, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings here. I want the family to be able to, a family of who's lost anybody, to read it and be inspired and know that it can help them in any way. So I knew there was goodness coming through in these articles, and that it was, if it makes one person's life easier, as somebody wrote in a letter to say, thank you, Breda, I was depressed, but you uplifted me. So that in itself was, those words were lovely to hear, to be received from somebody as well.
Yes, it's always good to get acknowledgement, and
that's right, Stephen.
It's always good to see somebody else putting in their own effort into things as well. Like
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Who are your favourite writers?
I have a few favourite writers. I'm always reading. I love reading. My favourite writers would have been, one who most inspired me, I think, would have been Dr. Wayne Dyer in his book called Your Erroneous Zones. And in the book I've written an article about how this book changed my life when I suffered from depression myself in my 20s. So yes, I love his stuff. I feel Dr. Wayne Dyer's stuff, it's inspirational, it's helping you to be more in the present, and it's also to get you to understand more about yourself and your body and your feelings, emotions, all of that. It's just it's so positive, really, really so positive. He would be one. Another one would be Gary Zukav, The Seat of the Soul. All of Jan de Vries's books, very, very inspiring and all well worth reading. I've also got Esther and Jerry Hicks, The Law of Attraction, and the list goes on, Stephen. I just
An endless list.
endless. And Patrick Francis, he's written many books, and I love them as well. And
The Grand Design.
The Grand Design, thank you. I was trying to get the word out there.
Are you writing again?
I am, Stephen. Believe it or not, this book that I'm writing I'd been planning before this book, Words of Wisdom for Your Health and Happiness, came into fruition. This book that I'm writing at the moment is very much a book about healing. It's very much a book about stories that people have to tell. It's very much about helping to empower yourself, to heal yourself, and know that you can get from A to B to C to D in small steps. And it's a book that I hope that people will be able to read and again be more inspired, as indeed this book is as well. Words of Wisdom is really to get people to think more about their health in a different manner rather than giving the responsibility away. It's very much about taking the power within yourself and being positive, being really positive in the present, and how being positive in the present can bring in so much happiness now and in the future.
And where can you get Words of Wisdom?
Words of Wisdom is being sold at all the... We're trying to get it, as we published ourselves, Stephen, it's a little bit harder to get it out there. So At the moment what I'm doing is going around to do various radio stations and doing interviews. So they're available in Kilkenny, in Waterford, Cork, Limerick, Clare, and I'm going further afield. So don't be disillusioned if you can't... If you can't find the book in the bookshop, you know, we have the website bredagardner.com, and you can order online as well.
Oh, very good. Very, very good. Breda, it has been lovely being interviewing you, and we'll interview you again in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. My pleasure.